Ryan Wingo and Colin Simmons. They're two of Texas's best players, but they're not playing like two of Texas's best players right now. That needs to change for the Longhorns to reach their ceiling in 2025. Let's talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. It has been a rough start to the year for the two number ones on the Texas Longhorns. The number one on offense, Ryan Wingo, was thought to be this team's number one wide receiver here in 2025. And the number one on defense, Colin Simmons, was a preseason All-American, and he was thought to be a lock as Texas's first double-digit sack guy in more than a decade. So far, not so good for either of them. Through the first two games, Ryan Wingo has been targeted 15 times. That's more than any Texas wide receiver. He has just 6 catches on those 15 targets for 65 yards and 0 touchdowns. Not quite number one statistics there. Colin Simmons, on the other hand, has 4 penalties and just a half a sack so far this year. And the penalties have been costly. A 15-yard hands to the face penalty against Ohio State that came on a third down, that gave the Buckeyes an automatic first down and kept their opening touchdown drive alive. And then Colin Simmons followed that up with 3 penalties against San Jose State, 2 offsides, and then another 15-yarder, this one of the roughing the passer variety. Simmons actually got benched at halftime against San Jose State after he picked up those 3 penalties in the first half. The number one jersey is a big deal at Texas, at anywhere. It is a highly coveted number. It's a number that you have to earn and a number that is a big deal to have. You expect your number ones to be some of your best players. And right now, Ryan Wingo and Colin Simmons have done more bad than good for this team. And the Horns need that to change, plain and simple. If Texas is going to reach its ceiling in 2025, if this is going to be an SEC championship winning team, if this is going to be a national title winning team, those two guys need to be major factors. We've got a bit of sound from Coach Sark here. The first one talking about Ryan Wingo. This is Coach Sark from Monday talking about what's been going on with the sophomore wide receiver.
With Ryan, I just think he's pressing a little bit. Ryan is like one of the, if not the most, one of the most conscientious kids on our roster. He works really hard. Like nobody practices harder than this guy. He wants to do right. He's in the right spots. He wants to make all his plays. Sometimes, not trying so hard is the best avenue in just playing and relaxing and playing and he'll get there. I think that we all want him to get there sooner rather than later, and I know he does too. But again, I think that taking a deep breath and letting the plays come to him and not trying to go make it. I think on that glance throw the other day, I think he was already thinking he was making the safety miss, like in his mind, because he's practiced it so many times. And sometimes it's let's just catch the ball and go play. But again, he's a fantastic player. He's a great teammate, and we need him. And I think he understands that, and his rapport with Arch is really good. And so we'll find his niche.
There's Steve Sarkisian talking about Ryan Wingo. I'll say this on Wingo. All of his struggles aren't on him, right? Arch Manning has missed him a couple of times this season. He missed him a couple of times in the Ohio State game on a few crossing routes that should have been easy throws that weren't. He also missed him on a deep shot against San Jose State, right? Wingo had gotten by the defense. A good throw there results in a touchdown, but Arch overshot him on the left side of the end zone. So it's not all Wingo's fault here, but man, and Sark referenced this play, that drop that he had in the first quarter against San Jose State on that third down over the middle, that couldn't have been a more perfect throw from Arch Manning there. Ryan Wingo just dropped it, and Texas ended up punting on that drive. And, going back to that Ohio State game, one of those crossing patterns, it was a ball a bit behind Ryan Wingo. It should have been a better ball. There's no doubt about that. But a number one wide receiver and a guy who's getting paid like Ryan Wingo is, and a guy who's, expected to be an all-conference receiver, like that's a play you would like your top receiver to make. Got to help out your struggling quarterback there. So, look, whatever it is, something has been off between those two. The Arch Manning, Ryan Wingo chemistry just hasn't been there. And that's disappointing for a number of different reasons. Steve Sarkisian says their chemistry is fine. We heard so many reports from training camp leading up to game one that those guys were yin and yang. I mean, they were perfect. I don't know if yin and yang would have made sense there. I feel like those are opposite things. I don't think you need that. They were just in cahoots, that their chemistry was on the money, and they were really getting it done in practice. You were hoping that would translate to the games early in the season, but so far it hasn't. And both share some blame, I think, for the connection being a bit awry in the early going. But man, this offense's ceiling is so much higher if Ryan Wingo can be the true number one. No disrespect to Parker Livingstone, because he's been the number one for Texas so far. But Wingo is the guy. Like, he's your most talented receiver on your roster. And if you could set it up to where Wingo is your one and Livingston is your 2 or 3, like, that's big time right there, because that means Wingo is looking like the guy you want, an all SEC type. Remember, he was preseason all second team SEC before the year. If he looks like that and Livingston keeps getting better and you add Emmett Mosley to the mix and you've got DeAndre Moore, this offense is going to be a heck of a lot tougher to stop. As for Colin Simmons on defense, man, I mean, it wasn't just guessing with this dude. Like, Colin Simmons was the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year in college football in 2024. He led the Longhorns in sacks despite not starting a single game. There were so many reasons for legitimate optimism going into year 2, and it just hasn't happened yet. When Steve Sarkisian was asked about Colin Simmons on Monday, he said, quote, "I think Simmons is leading the country in penalties right now. I don't think he thought after 2 games that that's what he would be leading the country in." So again, another guy that I think is trying a little too hard. He's trying to jump the snap count, and he's got to be more mindful. When you get a penalty, there's a consequence. The team suffers. You go back 5 yards, you go back 15 yards. The opponent gets to continue to possess the ball, end quote. Steve Sarkisian was also asked how he coaches Colin Simmons, and he said, quote, "There was tough love Saturday. We took him out. He didn't start the second half. I think we got his attention. I think he had the 3 penalties in the first half. He didn't have any in the second half, and he got half a sack. So I think you just settle down. You don't get 10 sacks on one play, and you play within the confines of the defense," end quote. Colin Simmons was very optimistic and very confident going into 2025. I mean, he talked repeatedly about wanting to break the single season sacks record at Texas, which is 22 and a half. Well, right now he's at a half a sack. So he needs 22 in the next 10. Hopefully it's 13, 14, 15 more games that the Longhorns play this season. But not off to a great start. Look, to hell with the record. To hell with the record. Texas just needs Colin Simmons to be the impact player that he was last year. Longhorn fans are still going to love him even if he doesn't get to 22 and a half sacks this year. Hell, if he gets to half of that number, that would be fine. Again, Texas hasn't had a double-digit sack guy since Jackson Jeffcoat more than a decade ago. So he doesn't have to get to 20 plus. If he could just get you to 10, that's something that you haven't had around these parts in a long, long time. And that's going to make this defense, which is already really good. They already look national championship good through these first 2 weeks. That's going to take things to a whole nother level. And for this Texas team as a whole, the defense, multiple players on the defense openly talked about wanting to lead the SEC in sacks this season. Right now, the Longhorns are tied for second to last in the conference with just 2 sacks. Colin Simmons is the most talented guy in that room. Preseason first team All-American. He needs to show that. So, hey, it's a long, long season. Plenty of time for Colin Simmons to figure it out. Plenty of time for Ryan Wingo to figure it out. But again, if Texas is going to make a push for an SEC title and a natty this year, those 2 guys need to be major players. Your superstars need to be superstars. Those are 2 of the best guys that you have. They need to play like it. This Texas team can be good without him. But again, for this team to reach its ceiling and achieve all of the goals that they want to achieve, it's going to start with their number ones playing more like number ones. All right, we'll take your thoughts. Comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Your thoughts on the sluggish starts for Ryan Wingo and Colin Simmons through these first couple of games. When we return, a few deep dive stats for the Texas offense that I hope Steve Sarkisian has access to, because I think some minor changes could help things turn around a little bit for this offense. We'll get to them up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. Oh, but first, a shout out to our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. They deliver confidence with every ride, and they have more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anybody else. It's incredible. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every single detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives, whether you're going to work, whether you're going to your tailgates, your watch parties, whatever. You can make your everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls and all-wheel drive that is standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence throughout almost any season. Athletes sweat out all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. Like Texas players, Mazda sweats every detail because, well, when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. It's Mazda. Move and be moved. And a shout out to our friends at DoorDash as well. We're getting closer to the weekend, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the Longhorns, I'm going to give this to Arch Manning. He delivered in a big way. Great bounce back for him. About 5 total touchdowns in the victory over San Jose State. When the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, you saw the big improvement from Arch Manning from week 1 to week 2. Just like Arch delivered for the Horns, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you could save on every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. The Longhorn offense isn't off to the greatest of starts. I think that's safe to say. Now, week 2 had a lot more good than week 1, but there's still plenty of meat left on the bone for that side of the football. Some interesting stats about the Texas offense, and I know it's not the biggest sample size. We've only played 2 games here, but these results are telling enough, and I hope that they mean that we will see some changes to a few different aspects of the Texas offense going forward. We will start with a stat about pre-snap motion. I think even the most casual of football fan, not calling y'all that, you guys are serious, passionate, locked-in fans. That's why you tune into Locked On Longhorns. But I think even the most casual fan realizes the value of pre-snap motion, right? Like you switch up the look for the defense. They see you in one formation, and then all of a sudden you're giving them a different look. And hey, the defense is wondering, are they going to snap it while this guy is moving? Are they going to wait for him to get to the other side of the field? Like there's a lot that has to go through a defender's mind when pre-snap motion happens. And there's not a lot of time for him to react when you're moving pieces around right before the snap. In the Ohio State game, Texas only ran plays with pre-snap motion 30% of the time. On those plays, they averaged 5.4 yards per play. Of the 70% of plays where they didn't utilize pre-snap motion, they averaged 4.83 yards per play. Now, 5.4 isn't amazing, but it's better than 4.8, is it not? Like even against an elite defense like Ohio State's, you can tell that pre-snap motion made a difference. In week 2, back at home, weaker opponent, Texas upped the pre-snap motion a bit, running it on more than 41.5% of the offensive plays. On those plays, the Longhorns averaged 8.56 yards. On the 58% where they didn't, they averaged 6.3 yards per play. It's more than a 2-yard difference right there per play. Like that makes a difference over the course of a 60-minute game. So I hope we see more pre-snap motion moving forward. I think that stuff is a lot easier to do at home when the fans are quiet and you can hear what the quarterback is telling you to do. But hopefully over these next 2 games, they can shore up that stuff enough to where they can take it on the road to the Swamp in the SEC opener in early October. Pre-snap motion has always been an integral part of the Sark offense. I hope that continues to be the case. I'd like to see that number closer to 50% when we get to league play, right? Obviously 41.5% is better than 30, but I'd like to see that number continue to get higher as this offense gets a little bit more comfortable with all of the new faces that they have. So more pre-snap motion, please. That is request number 1. And request number 2, this is another statistical nugget here. The Longhorns should consider implementing more 12 personnel. 1 running back, 2 tight ends. It means 2 receivers on the field as well. Look, right now, Texas may have to do that because they're a bit banged up at wide receiver. Emmett Mosley still battling his lower leg injury. DeAndre Moore obviously left the San Jose State game early. Not sure if he's going to be good to go this weekend against UTEP. So that might force Sark's hand to do this anyways. But looking back at last week, Texas averaged more than 12 yards per play when they were in 12 personnel. In 11 personnel, which is Steve Sarkisian's kind of go-to formation, the one he runs more than any other, the Longhorns averaged just 4.76 yards per play. So more than 12 compared to 4.76. 12 personnel was almost 3 times more effective against the Spartans compared to 11 personnel. And the 5 most explosive plays that the Longhorns offense had against the Spartans, you guessed it, 12 personnel, including the 83-yard touchdown pass to Parker Livingstone. Matter of fact, all 3 of Livingston's touchdowns this year have come out of 12 personnel. We saw more 12 personnel in week 2 than we did in week 1. That's a good thing. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of that because, again, the stats, not the biggest sample size, but they're pretty good. And I will also say Texas was better out of 12 personnel in week 1 than they were out of 11 personnel as well. So the Longhorns, Jack Andrews, I think, is the real deal at tight end. You're still kind of trying to figure out what you have with your other tight ends, but 5 different guys played that position against San Jose State. Hopefully over these next 2 weeks against UTEP and Sam Houston, you can get confidence in at least 1 or 2 more of those 5 guys. Again, with injuries, you already have it, but whether it's Jordan Washington or Spencer Shannon or Amari Winston or Nick Townsend, hopefully 1, maybe 2 of those 4 can emerge to where, 12 personnel can be a staple of this offense because, again, it's been the most effective personnel package for the Horns so far. And also, I wouldn't mind seeing some 21 or 22 personnel and getting multiple running backs on the field at the same time. We have yet to see any 2-back look in any capacity this year. And I know Trey Wisner missed game 2, but Trey Wisner and CJ Baxter, those guys on the field at the same time, those guys are weapons. Like, Texas has enough depth in the running back room. Even if Wisner doesn't play on Saturday, you put Baxter and Clark out there, you put Baxter and Gibson out there, that gives opposing defenses something else to pay attention to, and that forces them to account for another talented player. And the Texas wide receivers, you're not getting a whole lot besides Parker Livingstone right now. Maybe that can help spark your passing game a little bit. I mean, last year, Trey Wisner had 44 catches. We saw in 2023, CJ Baxter can be a receiving threat out of the backfield as well. That was something I was clamoring for a ton last year because Wisner and Blue had 40-plus catches a year ago, and it's like those 2 guys together, can we get them out on the field at the same time? That's something that could help the offense as well. So I wouldn't mind seeing some 2-back looks from this offense this weekend, but the proof is in the pudding for the pre-snap motion and the 12 personnel. More of that, please, Steve Sarkisian. More of that. All right. We always like to end the show on a positive. Let's talk about one of the most positives for the Longhorns so far, Parker Livingstone. Man, has he been good. And now the rest of the country is starting to take notice as well. I will tell you how coming up on Locked On Longhorns. Shout out to our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you are ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Yes, you heard that right. You bet $5. If that bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. This is a real thing. And FanDuel makes every game more exciting. Whether you're watching your favorite team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup every week, FanDuel is so quick, so easy. It's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So, you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Again, FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And also a shout out to our friends at Monarch Money as well. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts. Most people can't even name what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, investments, properties, crypto. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why Monarch Money exists. This is an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in a clean, easy-to-use interface that you can access directly from your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. You don't want to be checking this stuff all the time. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch can do it for you. They do the heavy lifting for you. You can link your accounts in just minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. This is too important. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get half off your first year. Again, 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Just use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, final segment of a Thursday edition of Locked On Longhorns. Parker Livingstone, the man that his teammates have dubbed White Chocolate. He's off to a pretty phenomenal start in 2025, isn't he? And what a story. The redshirt freshman had 0 catches last year. He leads the Longhorns with 175 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns on the young season. Of course, he scored the first 3 touchdowns for Texas here in 2025, averaging a whopping 29.2 yards per catch. I would love to see that continue throughout the whole year. It won't, but hey, so far so good. Also, 87.5 yards per game for Parker Livingstone. I mean, this guy has been a godsend for this Texas team so far. Texas fans, of course, have taken notice, but now folks around the country are as well. The SEC named Parker Livingstone the conference's Freshman of the Week for his performance in Week 2. He went for 4 catches, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the Longhorns' 38-7 victory over San Jose State. That's pretty cool, right? A conference award, that's a big deal. But a national award, that's even better. Parker Livingstone was tabbed as the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Week in college football for that great performance against SJSU. I don't know if anybody calls it that, but we're doing it. Steve Sarkisian on Monday was asked about Livingstone's emergence, and he said, quote, "I've been saying it all along. I just don't know if you guys believed me. I've been saying it since spring ball. Parker Livingstone is a really good player. He played good all spring. He played good all training camp. He's played good for 2 weeks. Like, the guy is a good football player. He obviously has good rapport and good trust with Arch, and he makes plays. When the ball comes his way, he makes his plays, and that's a valuable asset to have when you're trustworthy. And he's definitely a trustworthy guy," end quote. Yeah, earlier in the show, we talked about the lack of chemistry between Arch Manning and Ryan Wingo. That doesn't exist between Arch Manning and Parker Livingstone right now. The rapport, the trust, it is absolutely there between those two guys. And that's a really, really good thing. It's the roommate connection, the McCoy Shipley thing. Yeah, we've already heard that a couple of times. And hey, I hope we hear it more, because that means those guys are putting up big numbers every Saturday. If you're getting compared to Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley, the best QB wide receiver combo in school history, you're doing something right. So I'm not annoyed. I will never be annoyed by those comparisons as long as they are worthwhile. But praise from the conference, praise from the national media, praise from the head coach, and a badass nickname from your teammates as well. Not too shabby for Parker Livingstone. The 83-yard touchdown grab that he had this past Saturday, that was the longest pass play for Texas since 2017. A 90-yard touchdown grab for John Burt that year. Remember him? Yeah, it's been a while. Livingstone also hit 20.3 miles an hour on that run after catch. That was tied for the 7th fastest time of any college football player in week 2 across the country. Sneaky speed, some might say. Coach's son, high IQ guy, all of those things, right? Y'all get my drift here. Look, this guy is an athlete. This guy is an athlete. And the other day, Arch Manning said, quote, he can roll for a white guy too, end quote. Yeah, he absolutely can. And Parker Livingstone, not only is he fast, we saw that on full display on Saturday, he's also 6'4". So he's got some size to win those 50-50 balls as well. We've seen some of the route running ability so far. The nice shake and bake move he made at the goal line for that short touchdown against San Jose State. That was pretty good to see. He's got the size. He's got the speed. Don't get me wrong. He's still developing. He's going to get better as his career moves along, but a really, really good first 2 games, all things considered, for Parker Livingstone. And again, a great story. This guy was not the highest touted recruit coming out of Lucas Lovejoy High School. And he had some big offers, but Livingston got hurt early in his senior year and missed most of his final year of high school ball. And I think that didn't help, right? I think that kind of moved him down in terms of recruiting grade, in terms of recruiting rankings. Like we've seen that happen before. Heck, Emmett Mosley, who obviously we're waiting to see in a Longhorn uniform, that guy had a Texas offer and a bunch of other offers too. He tore his ACL early in his senior year of high school, and then a bunch of schools were like, yeah, we're not so sure we want to do this. So that's a real thing. You get hurt at any point in your high school career, but especially towards the end when it's decision-making time for both you and the schools, that can drop your stock a little bit. Texas stayed on Parker Livingstone. They didn't pull the offer. Livingston stayed committed to Texas, and thank God, because he has been fun to watch. And his role is only going to increase too. In segment 2, we talked about things we want to see more of from the Longhorn offense. I want to see more Parker Livingstone. Number 13 deserves the ball more. Sark should be making more of a conscious effort to get that guy the ball because he has been the best weapon for Texas so far. And then, hey, you look at Emmett Mosley still being out, DeAndre Moore dealing with something. We'll see again if he's good to go against UTEP this weekend. Ryan Wingo struggling a little bit right now. There could be some more opportunities for Parker Livingstone moving forward. And again, this is only the beginning. Redshirt freshman year. The guy appeared in some games last year, but didn't have a catch. He only has like 2 games of real legitimate action, and he's already putting the world on notice. So shout out to Parker Livingstone. He's been great so far. And God, would love a few of the other wide receivers to join him as well, because Livingston being how good he is, DeAndre Moore reaches his potential and stays healthy. Ryan Wingo reaches his potential. This could be a very scary wide receiver room, plus Emmett Mosley as well. Has a chance to be really good as the year goes along. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you've made it this far, number 1, thank you very much. Number 2, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Also turn on notifications as well, so you're always informed whenever we drop new content. Appreciate y'all making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out Locked On Bets with my man Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers. They are your one-stop shop for all of your sports betting needs, expert analysis, game picks, the lock of the day. They've got you covered. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Plenty more Texas football conversation coming tomorrow, including some preview of this weekend's tilt against UTEP. We've got you covered with Longhorn football talk all year long. That'll do it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.